This is the Russian dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the bubblegum princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit, Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey everyone, this is Katrina Creed, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., and it is a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the Cobra, Katrina Creed.
Hey, thanks for the awesome introduction. So yes, as mentioned, I am the Cobra, Katrina Creed. I come from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I do a lot of feds in Quebec and Ontario. More recently, I actually did booking down in the States in New Jersey. Pretty much for the month of December, I am mostly wrestling for IWS, which is my home fed that I train at, where I'm also currently the women's champion at. We have a few no-ring shows going on, so that's always going to be a lot of fun. It has been fun in the past. It's going to be a lot of fun now for sure. For my socials, you can follow me on Twitter at Katrina Creed, so Katrina with a K, Creed with a C. And on Instagram, you can follow me at cat.creed.
All right, and merchandise?
Merchandise, currently, I do have some 8x10s. So if ever, you're curious about that, you can always send me a message and I can show you my prints. I am working on getting some t-shirts done soon. I've been kind of in the process of doing that for the past couple months. It's just the designers, kind of been full up, which is fine. But I think in the next few weeks, I should be having a design coming out too. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
All right. And all of the links to all her social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, let's get into it. You work for IWS. Can you tell us about your relationship with the company?
Yeah, so IWS is definitely one of the feds that I work for. It, as I mentioned, is my home fed, the one that I'm champion at, and it's the one I'm trained at. So they're one of the feds in Quebec that actually have their own school. IWS as a company started, I believe it was in 1999, and it was started by Manny, who's the current owner, as well as Sexy Eddie, who is currently wrestling for IWS as well as many other feds, and another person who I don't remember that person's name. Don't kill me, Manny. But yeah, so they started the fed when they were actually in college, and they just threw out a bunch of wrestling mats or gym mats, and made a makeshift ring. And if I do remember the story well, they got in a lot of shit for it. Some hardcore matches that come up, hence the no-ring shows that will be coming up in the next few weeks that are pretty much like bar shows where we just beat the shit out of each other with the environment. So yeah, there's still that's going on. But yeah, in the 2000s, even 2010s for a bit, it was pretty renowned as a hardcore fed. Manny's, who again is the owner, the current owner, and the one who started this, is definitely more of a deathmatch hardcore wrestler. So yeah, and he'll still come out once a year at our biggest show at Olympia, an everything sanctioned in March. He'll usually come out and do another deathmatch. So that's always pretty fucked up to watch. Not gonna lie. As a kid, you know, growing up, I was like, yeah, hardcore matches are awesome. But now that I've taken bumps and stuff, and I'm less desensitized, I guess, to the violence of it all, I watch hardcore matches now, and I'm like, oof, it looks rough. Actually, Manny last year at Uneffing Sanctioned at the last one, he actually he sliced off a good part of his ear. Actually, they sewed it back on. They saved it. But Nick Gage, he was in a match with Nick Gage and a few other people, and yeah, and one of them, I don't remember who, because it was a 3 versus 3, and one of them pretty much took like a stack of light tubes and just smashed him across the face with it, and there went his ear. So yeah.
All right. Now, besides IWS, you recently made your debut in America for IGB in New Jersey, I believe. Can you tell us
I did.
about that experience?
Yeah, for sure. So, oh, I think my cat's kind of whining to be let in. Just give me a sec. Close the door. Oh, come on, Will. It's okay. Hello, baby. Okay. So yeah, actually, that all started actually through Sexy Eddie. He had initially been asked by them to come down because Stan Styles, who's pretty much the promoter and a wrestler for that fed, is a huge Sexy Eddie fan. They both have really similar gimmicks, so it's when I saw Stan Styles and what he was doing, I'm like, it makes sense that he's a big fan of Sexy Eddie. And they had a match which was as ridiculous as you would expect it to be. You can actually watch it on IWTV. It's Halloween Havoc for IGB, but yeah. So Sexy Eddie actually came up to a friend of mine named Christera, who's a great wrestler from here, and asked her pretty much to come down with him because like he needed a tag team. She was in a tag team with Alex Mays, and they pretty much invited me too at the same time to go down with them as well to have an extra chick, because again it was like it's intergender business and you could never have too many chicks on hand, as there obviously aren't that many in wrestling, right? So yeah, I went down. It was really awesome. I was super excited for my first American booking. I unfortunately was sick though, so that kind of put a damper on it. But it was, and the drive was long. It's about 9-10 hours to get there. Luckily, Stan was nice enough to get us a hotel, so that was really great of him. And the match itself, I love this guy. So I had a match against Mark Angel, who is Marcus Mathers's dad, and it ended up being like a no DQ match because, again, you know, as I mentioned, like a lot of people know IWS in its heyday, or at least back in the day, as a hardcore fed. So when Mark Angel, who's like a deathmatch guy, found out that I was the champion at IWS, he was wondering if we could do a no DQ match, and I'm like, well, you know, I got to represent the home fed, so I agreed to it. And he was such a pleasure to work with. He was also sick, so we were both sick. It was kind of fucked up, but he was so great, so easy to plan with, such a sweetheart. Mark Angel and Marcus Mathers too. They're both really sweet and they seem like really great people. And yeah, we planned the match really easily. It was super fun. I beat the shit out of him with a bunch of crap, including like cookie sheets, and I put him through I put a plank of wood. I think it was a partial door. So it was really great fun. I had a really good time.
All right. Now, you mentioned it. You are the current IWS Women's Champion. You know, it is your home promotion. It is, you know, a well-respected promotion for its tenure. So what does it mean to you to hold that championship?
It's honestly, it means quite a bit. Because I remember, like, IWS was pretty much the only indie promotion I ever went to when I was younger, because I thought it was the only one that exists. Now, being an independent wrestler, I realize how many there are around Quebec and just in general. But at the time, I thought, oh, okay, this is like one of the only independents around here. So, like, I first went to like my first IWS show, I think it was in 2009 or 2008, around then. So just to have been there from when I was younger and to have seen different shows throughout the years and see people like the Green Phantom, who I loved, Twiggy, who I loved too, and so many different people. And just, I mean, first off, to be wrestling for that Fed in itself was something I really prided myself on. But then to be like a champion of that same Fed is honestly crazy. It's crazy to me, you know, and it fills me with a lot of pride. Especially now, I think the IWS women, we have a really good roster of women who all work really hard. And it's really special to me to be able to train with them and wrestle them and have matches with them. It really is just such an honor to be where I am right now, and to be able to do what I'm doing. So it really is a privilege.
When you win the championship, is that a moment you take in the moment, or is that something that kind of sets in afterwards? Like, wow, I did this.
I think, I guess afterwards, but to be honest, ever since I've won it, because when I first won the belt, there was kind of like a little segment after where a friend of mine came out and she like nailed me with the belt. So I was kind of like thinking about that, you know. I didn't even really have time to celebrate. I'm like, I'm gonna get like, I'm pretty much gonna like eat shit in the next few minutes, and I gotta sell it well. So that's all I was thinking about, really. And afterwards, it's like, you know, I gotta say, I didn't feel too different. I thought it was gonna be this huge shift in how I felt about myself and thinking I was the shit. But if anything, it put more pressure on me. I guess I'm putting that pressure on myself, because now I'm like, okay, well, they put this belt on me. And that obviously means something. You know, they're doing that for a reason. And I got to up the ante, and I got to keep pushing and trying my best, and just really trying to perform to the best of my capabilities to keep pushing myself. So if anything, with the belt came pressure more than anything else. I think I'll be sad when I don't have the belt anymore, but for now, I just have a pressure to put on the best matches that I can while I have this belt, to try to put out good promos and to really just promote the Fed and the belt and myself as much as I can during the time that I have it.
Okay. Now, you know, you mentioned, you know, the roster of IWS, and I'm not entirely sure who dubbed you this, but you are one of the four horsewomen with Dani, Leo, Krista, and Melanie Havoc. Huh? So, and you did have a fatal four-way with all four girls, which actually you won. Can you tell us about that match and the other four horsewomen?
Yeah, so Andrew, who's my coach, Shane Hawk, he's like the head coach at IWS. He was also a wrestler for a long time in the IWS and has been he's been booking for IWS for a very long time. He's actually the one who came up with that term at first, calling us the four horsewomen of the IWS dojo. And again, you know, he kind of had mentioned this on Twitter and stuff like that, saying that we're a pretty solid roster of women. And he just wanted to push that idea forward. So that's where that came about. And for the match itself, yeah, like Fatal Four-Ways are always kind of difficult to plan, just because, you know, there's so many moving parts and you got to think about positioning, and there's like a story that we wanted to tell during the match as well, which adds that kind of extra layer of complexity. But I mean, as it was, I feel like that match was there to pretty much demonstrate who we are as wrestlers and what we can do. And again, as I mentioned, it's always a pleasure to be able to wrestle with each and every one of them. And it's always an honor to be able to do that. There's always so many things that you can learn per match, per person. You know, there's like extra layers that you can add to it as time goes on, even if you've wrestled them before. So it really was a pleasure for me. Unfortunately, that was 2 days after I came back from New Jersey, so I was still sick. So that kind of sucked. But So yeah, that was a bit of a bummer, but it was also really cool because that show was our first one at Studio TD, and we all really liked that venue. So that was also a really cool highlight as well.
Now, you mentioned, putting added pressure on yourself being the champion. Does having a title of, one of the four horsewomen, does that add more pressure to you as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like I definitely not only want to elevate myself, but I just want to elevate everyone that I'm with as much as I can, right? I'm not saying I'm like spectacular or amazing or whatever, but I just want to do my best to appear in the best of lights that I can. And similarly, whoever I'm with, I want them to be there with me, Like I really want to work hard to make everyone look good, and not just me. So there's definitely that pressure, for sure, and it extends to that too.
All right. Well, you was an extra for AEW back in July. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, so that was really really great. I had such a fun time. Um, Yeah, it was pretty crazy too because I just got my license in June, right? I'm kind of an environmentalist. I was trying not to drive and everything for a long time. But obviously with wrestling, I'm like, okay, I got to get a license for bookings and stuff like that. So I literally got my my license. I think it was like the first week of June. And then it was like at the very end of June where I was asked to do extra work for AEW. So literally week 3 of me having my license, I'm like driving from Montreal to Hamilton, Ontario, by myself, which was crazy. It was the first like long distance trip that I ever did, and I never really drove by myself too much. So that was pretty mental. But the actual like experience itself was great. I was there for 2 days, so for Dynamite on one day and for Collision on the other. And everyone was just so nice, all of the talent. Everyone was so sweet and really accommodating. I just felt very welcome there. Everyone was kind of giving me smiles as you passed by. And I met so many great local talent from that area as well. Von Vertigo, who's stellar. So many other people, Rip Impact, as well. Like Alexia Nicole was also there. Silesia Sparks, who's excellent. And some people who are closer to the border over here, like Fresh Air from McRae Martin and Junior Benito. Junior Benito being the current C4 champion. He won that recently. So it was great just mingling with them and meeting them and being able to hang out with them and so like hanging out with some of the AEW talent as well. And yeah, it was just such an experience. I of course was hoping to get a match, but I'm like, okay, I didn't get a match that time, and I'm like, okay, well at least I'm here. You never know what's gonna happen in the future. I'm like about a year in at this point. I really can't complain. I'm just stoked to be here. You know what I mean? And plus they give you food. So that was really awesome. I'm like, damn, I'm just getting paid to be here and eat. This is great. Like I was stoked. So it was just such a great experience. I felt so energized coming back from that. And it really just gave me an extra push or motivation to work that much harder because I'm like, man, I really want to be able to be there all the time,
Yeah. And shout out to Von Vertigo and Alexia Nicole, friends of the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're great. Great wrestlers.
Absolutely. Now, was there anybody from AEW that's coming up to you, giving you advice?
Not necessarily advice. I guess the one who I guess was closest to giving me advice because like in AEW and in general it's like in a lot of bigger companies like WWE somewhere in AEW it's like you kind of have to like you don't want to like not harass the talent, but you got to kind of keep your distance, right? And maybe you're polite and you give a smile and whatever, but you don't want to talk to them too much unless they talk to you first. So there were different talent that came and sat with us and had conversations with us, which was nice. But the only person who really gave me, I guess, a bit of advice, but again, I didn't really seek it out because I didn't want to, push my boundaries or push their boundaries rather, was Satnam Singh, who sat down with me and, well, I don't know if this is advice, but he was pretty much telling me, he's like, yeah, you should really just apply to do extra work all over Canada. You never know when AEW is going to come back here. So you really want to try to get on as many shows as possible, because then you have more chances and more opportunities, and maybe it'll lead to something, right? So it's better to get on as many shows as possible. So apply. And I'm like, oh, it's not too late. And he's like, no. And I did, but they're full up. So I'm like, damn, that's too bad. But it's definitely something to think about, like, in the future. Like, I mean, AEW is coming to Montreal now, which is great. But, like, if there's, I guess, another time where they have another tour and I have a bit of extra money lying around where I can travel a bit more, maybe that's something I'll take into consideration again, because he's right. You always want to go to as many opportunities as possible, because you never know what's going to lead to a bigger opportunity.
And I mean, obviously, the big question that's on everybody's mind right now is, how was the catering?
I thought it was great. Catering was really awesome. They had a lot of variety. Both days they had a lot of variety, and they had like different main courses on each day. I'm a vegetarian, so they actually had vegetarian options that weren't, like, it was diversified. So yeah, I was actually able to get some protein in, and I was able to eat quite a few things. I was pretty stoked. I liked it a lot.
Okay. Now, you mentioned, getting your driver's license only in June.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think about pro wrestling, I mean, the second thing you think about is carloads of guys driving obscene amount of hours. So,
Yeah.
how did you go like a year into pro wrestling without getting your driver's license and driving?
Yeah. A lot of friends in the business. So I would message people being like, okay, you're going up, cool, I'll meet you at this metro. And then, I'd go up with them. But it was a pain because, like, they dropped me off at the metro, and it's like, that was already like maybe a 2-hour ride back to Montreal. And then from there, I have to metro back to my place, which is another hour, that's tacked on, which totally sucks after a booking. You just want to get home. But yeah, pretty much just that. And even just going to the dojo, for example, like where I train, at the time where I was living, to get to the dojo, it would take almost like 2 hours, close to 2 hours one way to get there by bus. And I would do that like every week. At least once I would go there. So it's like literally 4 hours of my day to just travel to and from to train, right? And that's really what kicked me in the butt. And I'm like, yo, this fucking sucks, and I can't keep doing this. So that's when I started like really upping the ante to get my license, which I eventually did. But yeah, needless to say, I definitely have gotten a lot of driving experience since June until now. I've driven up 10,000 kilometers about from June until now.
And how does it feel to be a driver on the road nowadays?
I honestly love it. I know a lot of people complain about like traffic, which totally sucks, and different things like that. And for sure, there's pros and cons with everything. But dude, as someone who's been using public transit forever, I'm just so happy I have a car, because it's like, dude, okay, you're in traffic, but you're not like all squeezed up like on a bus. You know what I mean? You got your personal space. You can listen to your music. It's almost like a personal room on wheels. You know what I mean? You can eat as you're going around. Like, it's pretty dope. I fucking love it. And I kind of really love driving. Like, sorry, planet Earth. I know I'm like definitely doing some damage, but and I tried, like I really tried to hold out on driving as much as possible. But I really actually genuinely enjoy driving. There's something really soothing about it. I'm all for it.
Well, what was the reason that you didn't drive up to that point? Because I know, like, people in New York, they'll be the first to tell you, I don't need a car to go where I need. There's transportations everywhere. But I'm not, particularly sure how it is in Canada.
Yeah. Well, in Montreal, like for the most part, every apartment I'd live in was close or close-ish, to a metro. So it's either like I was right by the metro and there was no point in even having a car, or generally it's like it was maybe a 10-minute walk to the metro, and there wasn't really a point in having it. And again, Like I try to be an environmentalist. You know, I've been I've been like a vegetarian since, for the most part, since I've been like about 12 years old. And I'm really kind of conscientious about like what we do to the earth, and I try to limit, you know, the damage that I put out. I kind of also realize now that like a lot of this damage comes from companies and stuff like that. So I don't think what like individual people do for the most part is going to change much. It really has to come to policies. So that was kind of like the main reason I didn't want to drive. And as well, it was pretty accessible by transit in general. It's just, I was living in a place in Montreal for about 4 years with my ex, my boyfriend at the time. And it was one of those places where you really needed a car to get around. And so between that and the fact that the like where I train at the dojo was literally on the complete like diagonal opposite end of the island, that's when I was like, okay, I gotta get a car.
Alright. Now, can you tell us about wrestling Lufisto? I mean, obviously a legend in the business, and she actually handpicked you to be her opponent as well.
Yeah, that was like a huge honor to have heard that in the first place. Because Lufisto, as you mentioned, is a legend for so many different reasons. She's been doing this for 25 some odd years. But not only that, she's a tough motherfucker, you know? She's going up against dudes, doing all these crazy death matches, wrestling like Joshi wrestlers who are also very stiff and have their really own style that's very hard hitting and intense. And that's just her bread and butter. That's what she does, man. So, I was super, super nervous for that match. Up until it's the first time I was like nervous the day before a match, right? That hasn't happened since I first started doing matches. Whereas like the first few matches, I kind of had that nervousness the day before. But this was for sure. This like, yeah, definitely made me nervous the day before because I'm like, man, she handpicked me. So there's a lot of stress associated with that, you know? It's like I really want to live up to what her expectation is, which I don't know what her expectation is, but I want to do my best, you know what I mean?
Right.
So there was a huge pressure associated with that. But it was such a great match. I had so much fun. I watched it back. I really, really liked it. She was super happy with it, which thank God. And a lot of people who were watching it, like a lot of the workers, gave us compliments and came up to me and said that, you know, they thought it was really good and stuff, which was really validating. And that certainly helped a lot. And Lufisto is just so sweet and so giving. Even when I first started off as a manager, before I was even like wrestling on shows and stuff like that, she was still just sweet, never big leagued me or anyone. You know, from what I've seen, she's always been super, super nice, and super supportive. And actually, recently, as of like a couple days ago, she announced that she's actually doing kind of a sister fed, or it's like an offshoot of IWS, and it's called the Women's Wrestling Syndicate, IWS being International Wrestling Syndicate. This would be WWS, the Women's Wrestling Syndicate. So you can look that up on Twitter and Instagram, and it's actually a fed that Lufisto is starting herself, and it's going to be entirely made by women to the very top, all the way down to the wrestlers. And it's just going to be entirely women-based. So management, referees, the wrestlers themselves are all going to be women. And yeah, that's something that's starting up, and we actually have a show coming up in a few months. So that's going to be really, really awesome. And I'm just so happy to be able to be a part of it.
Oh, so you are booked for that show?
Yeah, I am.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, like I said, you were handpicked by Lufisto. What does that mean to you?
It was honestly like such an honor, you know, again, coming from someone who's been in the business for as long as she has, for all the experience that she had. She could have literally, because the guy who stepped out, initially she was up against a guy and he had to step down a couple weeks before because of work obligations he couldn't get out of. So she literally could have picked another guy, another girl who had more experience. So it was really something that she picked me, and it meant so much to me. It really makes you feel like, okay, I must be doing something right if someone of her stature wants to work with me. You know, I must be doing something right and I must be heading in the right direction. So it was really validating and such an honor, and it meant so much to me. It's really one of those matches that mean so much to me that I'll always keep close to me, you know, and close to my heart.
Hell yeah. Now, you haven't wrestled him, but you were a part of Friday Night Speedball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Speedball he was actually one of my trainers back in the day before he got signed to Impact and then moved to the States to be with his wife, Veda Scott. So he was one of my trainers. I love Speedball. He's honestly one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, and you can ask the top wrestlers like Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, so many other wrestlers who are at the very top. They'll say Speedball is one of those top wrestlers too. He's one of the best in the world currently.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he's excellent. And not only that, he's just an excellent person as well. He's so encouraging. And Friday Night Speedball is actually a platform for mostly his students. Like a lot of the people who are part of Friday Night Speedball are people he trained when he was still a coach here. And he really just uses it as a platform to fuck around because he kind of has like that type of humor, but also it's a platform to have his students be engaged in so that we can interact with some of his fans and we can pretty much use it as exposure, right? So he does that a lot. He'll even retweet, you know, some of our promos or match clips or whatever, like on his Twitter, because he's just that giving. And yeah, so Friday Night Speedball, if you guys have watched it, is something that Speedball puts on his Twitch when he comes to Montreal for shows and stuff like that. He'll fire up his Twitch. It's an interactive show where people on Twitch can like buy what they call bits to influence how the show plays out. And the show itself is filled with like different matches that have like ridiculous stipulations. So one of them was Melanie Havoc, one of the 4 horsewomen of the IWS dojo, with Veda Scott, and they pretty much were wrestling each other. And then I think, if I remember correctly, whenever the crowd who was part of the Twitch there would dictate it, they would have to eat like a jelly bean, but it was one of those jelly beans that's like regular flavored, or it could taste like puke too, right? You didn't know. So yeah, like Havoc either almost puked or did puke actually. Like imagine being all gassed up, you're like doing all this shit and then you just eat a jelly bean and it just tastes like puke, dude. Like it's pretty ridiculous. So yeah, it's just filled with matches that are just nonsense like that. But it's a lot of fun and it's super sweet of Speedball to do that for us. So yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had some training in Chikara, correct?
I did, yeah, I did. So this was way back in the day. I guess for people who don't know, just because this is back in 2019. So for people who don't know, I actually started training late 2018. I started having a few matches right before COVID. Then COVID happened, everything stopped. We were able to train here and there intermittently and then not. It was weird. And then after a year of that and not having shows, I just decided to stop. And then eventually wrestling came back and I didn't go back until like late 2022. That's when I started actually doing shows. However, when in 2019 I was training still, I wanted to train more. And back then, the IWS dojo only ran 2 days a week. And I was in between school semesters at university. And I'm like, okay, well, I have the summer off. I'm just going to save up and go to Chikara because I heard great things about it. Mike Quackenbush is just a great teacher, so knowledgeable about so many different things. And he has a really good relationship with Andrew, who's Shane Hawk, who's my coach. And they had classes like, I don't remember at the time, but I think it was like 5 days a week or 6 days a week, sometimes 2 classes a day. So I'm like, I just want to go there and learn as much as possible from other people and train as much as possible. So I worked a bunch, I saved up money, and then I just stayed there for almost a month and trained there. And it was a really great experience. Honestly, for the most part, it was excellent. I learned quite a bit by being there.
And now, I mean, it being Chikara, there had to have been some unique and odd personalities. No,
Yeah, yeah. Well, odd personalities, odd gimmicks, or personalities in general.
I mean they go hand in
Yeah.
hand at this point.
Sorry, what's that?
They go hand in hand in Chikara, so take your pick.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For the most part, I didn't meet because there was a lot, especially with the speaking out movement. There was a lot of people from Jakarta that got like outed.
Right.
For the most part, I didn't meet those people. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I did meet one guy who's kind of funky. But for the most part, it's like I didn't interact with those people, and a lot of the students that were there were all really sweet and welcoming. So yeah, but it is definitely, yeah, it was definitely kind of a sketchy talking point when that whole Me Too movement started.
No, I understand. But you've trained, you've trained in the pro wrestling ring. But can you tell us about having no ring hardcore matches?
Yeah, so those are pretty crazy. I remember when it was first announced, I kind of thought it would be something like Friday Night Speedball. You know what I mean? Where it's like no ring. Okay, we do that at Speedball's thing. And I thought it would be kind of ridiculous like that. And then my first match with Maria Belmont, which I think is my favorite match so far that I've done at one of the no ring shows. When I started planning the match with her, I was like, I started realizing I'm like, oh no, okay, this is gonna be like a fucking hardcore match. Like this is gonna be pretty fucked up. And I wasn't really anticipating that for some reason because again, I did that speedball thing and it was kind of comedic and just mat wrestling. But then I'm like, no, of course it's IWS. Of course a no ring show is gonna be fucked up. So yeah, it was very, very fun. It kind of surprisingly, like, I actually like hardcore wrestling way more than I thought I would. It's not something I watch too often, but doing it, it's like, yeah, you have spots and stuff like that to remember, but you can feel things out more because there's less spots and you're just beating the shit out of each other with stuff, essentially. So it's really, really fun. You can actually watch some of the matches if you go on the IWS channel on YouTube. There's some of the no ring matches that are up there that you guys can watch, and we just beat the shit out of each other with like beer cans and chairs. I put Maria Belmont, I powerbombed her through a skateboard that was like in between two chairs. It was pretty fucked up. I would not have taken that bump or suggested it, but she wanted to take it, and I'm like, man, I mean, thank you for this because it makes me look great, but fuck, I feel bad for you because there's no ring under you, man. Like this, there is no gift to this. But yeah, so we want to see a lot of fucked up shit like that. Go on IWS's YouTube channel. There's a few of them up there.
I mean, like starting in no ring matches. What's your mentality going into a match knowing there's no ring?
Well, you definitely have to get into it like mentally. You definitely have to hype yourself up. But I also, when planning a match like that, I don't want it to be too redundant either. And I'm like, okay, when do you get a chance to use the environment around you as weapons, So I try to always make it as creative as possible, either by taking like a fan's beer glass and like drinking it or smashing each other with beer cans from the bar. Like, when are you going to be able to do that, right? So you always want to, at least for me, I always try to think of like creative or different things that we can use in a match that we wouldn't be able to do in a regular ring.
All right. I think it's time again for that segment, Katrina's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Ooh, okay, well, geez, just already had so many experiences. In what sense? Like, are we thinking like super weird or super fucked up or like super funny? I'm not sure.
Anything you want to tell me.
God, it's just, Fuck, I really have to think of this because there's just so many fucking things that have happened already. Oh my god. I'm actually drawing a blank, but it's like for sure there's so many fucking things I could say. Let's see.
We could come back to the question if you'd like.
Yeah, I might have to sit on that one a bit longer.
Fair enough. Well, can you tell us about your love of the word bruh?
Sorry, my love of what?
Your love of the word bruh.
Oh, bruh. Bruh is an excellent word. It's comparable to fuck for me. And I think they're both pretty much at each other's level. They're just such versatile words. You can use it for any context. You can use it for like any emotion that you want to convey for the most part. It's great. Like you could be super excited, like bruh, super disappointed, bruh, super mad, bruh, super sad, bruh, super fucking happy, bruh. Like, it's just you could fucking use it for everything. It's great. It's a failsafe. It's my go-to whenever just any sort of feeling that I need to convey. That's the word, man.
All right. Now, can you also tell us why Solid Snake is the most badass protagonist?
Oh, oh God, you've done your research. So Solid Snake is the best. In my opinion, he's the greatest video game character. I guess for me, it's because I watched my brothers play Metal Gear Solid when I was younger, and I played it a bit too, and so I was probably really impressionable at that age. But there's just something about his presence and his badassery that I would just kind of compare him to Wolverine in terms of how much of a badass he is. But what I really love about the Metal Gear series is that it's a very complicated story, first, but the character arcs are really great too. And Solid Snake just has an amazing character arc. He's just someone, what I really love about that character is that he comes, for people who know it or don't, just briefly explain it. He pretty much is like part of this project where they were pretty much cloning like a super soldier, and he is one of, I guess, the offspring of that super soldier. And he has like two brothers who are clones as well, and they're pretty much like genetically raising them to be these like elite soldiers that will listen to them and that they can control. So their genes and everything make it so that they're supposed to be blood hungry and they aggressive, and they're supposed to just want like world domination and everything. Whereas Solid Snake is able to pick himself apart from that, and he's able to deviate from that path that was predestined for him. He's strong enough to be able to do that, and I think it's just such a great commentary on, despite our genes and our upbringing and what we're, I guess, meant to do, we're always able to pull outside of that and do what we want if we have a strong enough will to do it. And he also has this great nickname, or title. He's the man who makes the impossible possible. Because I mean, this guy literally dismantles like nuclear fucking machines that are destined to destroy like fucking civilizations, and he does it on his own with like no backup when he's constantly being like screwed over by like the colonel and people who are giving him his mission. Like they're like backstabbing him at the same time, and he's able to do it, and still be compassionate and strong and a badass. And I think those are just great qualities to have, and something I just strive to do. Obviously not as intense as him, but yeah. So I love Solid Snake. He's great.
And I mean, then there's the fact that you're the Cobra and he's Snake, so you share that similarity as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a huge reason why I chose this nickname, was because I love Solid Snake. I'm like, snakes are cool. I definitely want to have a bit of in on that. So that's how I came up with the Cobra.
Well, keeping on, the subject of video games, I believe this is an acronym. You are a part of YNGEZ Gaming, where their YouTube channel actually has you in 2K, where they make stories and develop things.
Yeah.
What's that experience like?
Yeah, it's been so cool, you know. Yeah, so he pretty much has like a whole federation going on called BCW. That's what it's called in the game. And he's created a bunch of different characters that are based off of wrestlers like me. He's created me in the game and a lot of wrestlers on the indie scene around here. And yeah, he's maybe his like women's champion, which is pretty awesome. And he's made like other people around here champion as well of different things. So that was just so cool to see. He has these ongoing storylines. They're all really creative, all these different stipulations. He's coming up with his own pay-per-views. It's really cool to be part of that. And I feel like it's just so, I was so taken aback when I first see something like that, you know, like it's just so touching that people, you know, like me enough or like my work enough to essentially, you know, create me in a video game. I've had people also like make posters for me and make like a little video highlight reel for me and stuff like that. And it's just like so cool that people, you know, like me enough to be able to do stuff like that. So it's really touching and I think it's just awesome.
All right. Now, have we thought of a bizarre adventure?
A bizarre adventure. Oh God. Oh God. A bizarre adventure. Gosh, I still can't think of one. I'm sorry. I was so engrossed in the other questions and thinking about that. I haven't had time to think too much. I'm sorry. Well, I don't know if this is a bizarre adventure at all, but I just think it's creative and a bit strange, and it's the only thing I can think of right now.
All right. Let's hear it.
Yeah. This isn't even that bizarre, and it's just, I think it's, okay, anyway. And I feel like ridiculous for bringing this up. But, okay, there's this wrestler named Ryan Rogan, and I think, I always thought it was kind of strange that he would do that because his gimmick essentially is a vagabond, right? So he pretty much like plays like a homeless dude. But I remember seeing this for the first time. What he does sometimes is he'll, at the end of the show or during intermission, he'll just like go out and sit and like ask for money, like, because that's his gimmick, right? So people come out and fucking give him money, and it's like, damn, like, it's weird, but it's kind of creative. And I'm like, you know, I kind of wish I had thought of something like that. That's pretty dope. So definitely not the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but you caught me off guard with that question, so that's the only thing I can think of right now. I'll try to think of that question a bit more, and maybe I'll write something to you if you want to attach it with this interview after.
Oh, yeah. Now, let's go into the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh, fuck. Well, I guess my entrance song, right? If we're doing a movie based on me as a wrestler, definitely my entrance song, which is Adrenalized by In This Moment. So that would be just the intro as the first credits are rolling.
Okay.
And then, God, specific to my gimmick, I guess, you know, I'm not huge on Avenged Sevenfold, but I always thought, the beginning quote of their song Backcountry, which they ripped off of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, really kind of worked with my character. The quote being, "He who makes a beast out of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man." Which, you know, being a cobra and everything, just the thought behind it, making a beast out of yourself into a cobra gets rid of the pain of being a man. And there's so many different things that could be attached to that. I think in terms of vices, they're talking about drinking and doing drugs, but as a wrestler, it'd be like, I don't know, beating the shit out of people instead. That would be the vice. So just for that quote, maybe that song. And I don't know. This is kind of irrelevant, but just because I like it, and it's on my Instagram, Super Beast by Rob Zombie. It's a cool song.
Okay. solid 3 songs right there. Now that we got the soundtrack down, we write the script, and then we go to casting. Who plays Katrina? And you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stanley S cameo.
Okay. Damn, I was gonna say myself. Okay. Well, someone else. I guess I don't know. Salma Hayek, because we have similar hair, or we did when she was younger. She kind of had the big poofy hair. Although I straighten my hair a bit more now. So and we're brown, so I guess her. Yeah.
Okay. Now every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you in your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
Oh, fuck. I guess definitely Shane Hawk, my coach Andrew. He's been instrumental in getting me to be here as a wrestler, and he's even helped me a lot on a personal level as well. But to play him, I don't know. I just automatically thought of Bill Burr, just because, like, I don't know, he's redheaded too, and they kind of have the same snarky sarcasm. So I think that would work.
Okay.
Not fully, but to an extent, it would work. I think also Christera, just because, especially over the past few months, we've been riding a lot together to shows. We're really supportive of each other. We really encourage each other a lot, and I feel like we're there for each other a lot as wrestlers. And I really, really appreciate her as a person and as a wrestler, and I'm just so happy I'm able to experience this with her. She's also fucking excellent as a wrestler. If you guys haven't checked her out already, you definitely should. She's on the up and up. Who would play her? I'm actually pretty bad with, like, actors and actresses. Maybe, I don't know, just because I like her. Who's the chick who plays Gamora? Zoe Saldana? Saldana, is that it?
Yeah, Zoe Saldana.
Yeah. Let's go with her, just because she's badass.
Okay. And we got one more.
One more. I guess... this is a tough one, because there's a lot of people that have definitely been influential to me so far, and have helped me in a lot of ways. But I guess I'll say Danny Leo, just because we started off training like around the same time, and we've had like a feud going on at IWS, and so much so that the feud was so intense that it actually spilled over to Femme Fatale, which is another Fed, so we're feuding there too now. And we've had a lot of matches together, we've had a lot of storyline build up together, so I feel like she would have to be there too. And just because, I don't know, maybe Penelope Cruz, just because people say we look similar, which I don't think we do, but and people would say that about Salma Hayek and Penelope Cruz back in the day, so fuck it, let's go with that.
Okay. This is sounding like a solid movie, to say the least. A blockbuster. And you could pre-order the tickets now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just put in my e-transfer information or my PayPal information, and yeah.
And now to the most controversial of subjects. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Pineapple on pizza. It's not that I love it or hate it. I don't mind it. I'm one of those neutral people. I'll maybe have a bite or two, if it's there, but it's not my go-to at all.
Okay, so you're leaning more towards pro rather than anti.
Yeah, like somewhat pro. Yeah.
All right. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Oh God. Psyduck. Just because it doesn't seem like in the ring, and I can be super organized, and like when I want to be, like in school and work and stuff like that, I can be really on top of shit. But like when you get to know me, man, like I'm very fucking confused. I'm just like kind of going around. I'm super clumsy. I'm always misplacing shit. Like it's a shit show. So yeah, definitely Psyduck.
Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym or Doug? THUG.
No.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, 'cause a Doug can't spell.
I don't know if I should give that a boo or a clap.
Well, we love the late great Tracy Smothers trying to keep the memory alive.
I'll give it a clap. Well, I'm holding a phone, so there you go. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm trying to smack my phone to clap. There you go.
I will clap for you.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you.
Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical rock.
I guess it depends on the size and how sharp it is and what the storyline is. But I consider it potentially. I know Jim Cornette would probably burn me at the stake, but you know.
Well, just for context, there is this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled in actual rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Arm Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Holy crap. Can I find some footage of this?
Yes, I could send it to you.
Excellent. I will have to look into this.
Ironically enough, that comes from Von Vertigo's Federation.
Oh my god. Whoa, Jesus, the connections.
Yes. And you might find, if you watch more of the episodes rather than just that segment, you might find that one Geoff Hardy maybe has a similarities to Vaughn. People make the comparison, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Pretty interesting. I'm quite intrigued, I have to say.
On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
God, still wrestling for sure. Unless I don't want to drink myself, so I'm not going to say it, but I can't see myself not wrestling. Now that I've started doing shows, like, it is everything to me, and it's all I do and think about. So, wrestling, for sure.
Okay. And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about?
Oh man, I had an incredible match with Lou O'Farrell. I guess where are we? Yeah, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. Sorry, I never know the dates, but yeah, 2 weeks ago. It was this great idea. So it was actually a Quebec independent film in French called Celle qui lutte, and it was pretty much based off a few Quebec women wrestlers, primarily Lou Festo, Lou O'Farrell, and this other girl named Azael. And it was this independent film that had its premiere 2 weeks ago. It was really well done. So I would watch that, and then afterwards there was a Q&A with the cast and the production team. And then after that, they actually put on a wrestling show with the stars of the show, as well as some other girls to wrestle them. And I was one of those girls that was chosen. So Lou and I were actually in the main event, and it was honestly, it's the best match I've had so far in my career. I've never been able to pinpoint a match that was my best, but this was for sure it. And we had so much fun, and the crowd was so into it. And after the match, we were like, dude, we have insane chemistry together. Like, it was like our timing and positioning and everything. Like, we didn't have to go over anything before the match. We just did it during the match, and everything was just, we were so in sync with each other. And we were like beside ourselves. We're like, we have to do this again. Like, it was crazy. We got a lot of compliments on it too, which was awesome. I don't know if it's on YouTube. And I don't know if we can release it, but I'm for sure going to make like a match, like a highlight reel out of it soon. And I plan on releasing that next week or so. So you can always check it out on my Instagram, and I could try to see if there's a way to release it, because man, I was really proud of that match.
Okay. And it sounds like a really good time. A movie and wrestling.
Yeah, it was great. Like, it's such a great idea. I'm like, wow, how has no one thought of that before? It was such a great idea, and the vibe was so great. Everyone was so sweet. The crowd was so into it. It was So much fun. It was really a special night to me.
Is there a match on YouTube that we could find?
Yeah, so I do have some other matches on YouTube. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. But you can definitely type in Katrina Cree and a few of my matches will come up. There's two actually, although, gosh, I was like a little baby, I guess. This is like 7 or 8 months ago, so it's not fully representative of who I am now as a wrestler, I'd say. But there's two matches that I like in particular that are on there. One is with Jessika Black. That was out in April.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that match. That channel, though, that put it up might have gotten taken down because it got hacked, which sucked, but it might still be up there. I don't know. And that's at XCW. And another match that I had against Dani Leo, actually, at Chinlock Wrestling in Kingston. I actually quite like that match, too. But there's probably a bunch of other ones on there.
And shout out to Jessika. We literally interviewed her last week.
Oh, yeah, I know. Jessica is great. And her, too. Her and I have had really good matches together. And I always like having matches with her. So it's always been a lot of fun.
And if those matches are still on YouTube, I will search the archives for them and put the links to the matches in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. If the highlight reel of the match you mentioned prior is up, I will put the description of that as well.
Awesome.
So yes, and people could click that and see it after this interview. For anybody who hasn't seen it, wants to see it, wants to re-see it after this interview.
Great. Well, thank you so much for doing that.
Absolutely. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of Doom.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh, God, I have to pick one? Okay, well, this isn't the top, but Bret Hart. He's definitely up there for me.
Worst wrestler.
Oof. Oh, God. Mongo. What the fuck was going on there?
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Rhea Ripley.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Jon Moxley's old song before this one. I fucking love that song.
The Death Rider or the WWE one?
No, yeah, the one in AEW, like the first one that he had before this one.
Like the low guitar strum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
great when it's done right.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Oh, let's see, squash, similar to pumpkin, which I think is a vegetable, but I feel like this is a trick question. Vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit.
What the fuck? Why? Because it had seeds? No,
Yes.
vegetables have seeds.
Yes.
Why?
Tomato logic. It has seeds.
Okay, fair enough.
But you're part of Squash Squad now, and that means a hell of a lot more.
Okay, cool.
New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Oh, God. Well, I'd say just cover the butt cheek, and it's fine. People don't want to cover the butt cheeks and they want to expose it, and that's totally fine, man. To each their own. But for me, cover the butt cheek for sure.
So full coverage.
Full coverage, yeah.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No. No, I have not.
And that is the
there
correct answer.
context? That's the correct answer? Okay. Damn, I didn't know we were being marked on that.
Well, that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Thank you so much for having me, and great questions. You did your research. That was super fun, and those questions at the end were hilarious. So thanks so much again. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We like to make it interesting for our guest here on Wrestling With.
It was super interesting, super fun.
Once again, could you tell us where we can find all things Katrina Creed on social media?
Yeah, for sure. So you can follow me on Twitter at Katrina Creed, Katrina with a K, Creed with a C, and on Instagram at cat.creed.
And you don't have to go looking for it. All of the links to all her social media will be in the description of the video below, or on YouTube and Castbox. Simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Give her a damn follow.
Please do. Thank you.
Of course, if you like what
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Of course, if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. But on YouTube and Castbox, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Thank you for listening. Join us every Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews. Follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Instagram, and Thread. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. All right, Katrina, when I say Wrestling With, you say entertainment, okay?
Sounds good.
For our special guest, Katrina Creed, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling With
Entertainment.
Hey, folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling With Entertainment. Enjoy the show. Support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.